Tonight was the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. We had the season premiere of SmackDown on Friday. So, of course, you can't leave out Raw. Tonight was the season premiere for the Monday Night show. This is the first show coming out of Extreme Rules. And there was a lot going on tonight. A lot going on here on this show. I thought they did a good job, actually, of filling the 3 hours and keeping it mostly entertaining. I can't say that there was any part of the show where I was overly bored. So I think that's the ultimate compliment that I can pay to this show, because 3 hours is very long. But I thought they did a better job of keeping things interesting tonight. There was no Bray Wyatt appearance. This was the first show coming out of Extreme Rules, which had the return of Bray Wyatt. And that's all anybody's been talking about. Bray Wyatt, all the stuff on social media, all the videos on their YouTube channel, millions upon millions of views. People have been watching that thing over and over and over again. I went back and watched it when I was done with my review the other night. And I did notice something very interesting. I had my AirPods in, which I did not have when I was watching the pay-per-view on Saturday. So I had my AirPods in, and I rewatched the Bray segment. And there was some funny business going on with the piping in of some noise that they were doing during that segment. I don't doubt that Bray got a gigantic reaction. And the people in Philadelphia wanted to see him. Remember, they were chanting, "We won Bray," even before the main event. So again, it's going to go down as one of the more memorable returns in company history. But the company is still very clearly playing around with the crowd reactions. You can usually tell when things get really loud, and then it's a very abrupt kind of like the volume cuts. You know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of interesting. But no Bray Wyatt on this show. We did get a segment later on, which we'll talk about. But it does look to me like maybe he'll be spending most of his time on the SmackDown brand. We don't have much of a brand split these days in WWE. So I can't say that he'll be exclusive to the SmackDown brand, but it looks like that may be kind of where he calls home base going forward. This show tonight was really built around a reunion for D-Generation X. We have had a lot of 25-year anniversaries this year. I've done a whole bunch of watch-alongs so far for some of the classic matches that we had 25 years ago. One of the things that took place 25 years ago was the formation of DX with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chyna, and Ravishing Rick Rude. And we did get a Chyna shout-out tonight from Sean Waltman. I was wondering about that, if they would have a shout-out to her. They did. I thought that was very cool. But we've seen so many DX reunions at this point. I've lost track of how many of them we've had. It's a smart way, I guess, to sell some extra tickets, and I think they were sold out, or near sold out, tonight at the Barclays Center. I have a few friends who were in the building tonight, again, not far from where I am right now. So it's a good gimmick if you want to move some tickets to build around a D-Generation X reunion. If you were expecting this to further some kind of angle, if you were expecting the DX guys being there to put over some of the newer talent in some kind of a segment, something to go down, you were left disappointed. If you looked at it as, oh, it'll be nice to see the DX guys again, and they'll just do their old catchphrases and tell everybody to suck it, then you got exactly what you wanted. You got exactly what you were looking for tonight. But the DX reunion did not amount to much, other than a brief trip down memory lane for the 37th time. I still maintain, I pitched this idea yesterday. I think it would have been cool, and what I would have done, I would have booked a segment where the Bloodline interrupts DX, and we get a confrontation in the ring. We get the sight of both factions in the ring at the same time. The members of DX and the members of the Bloodline. You get kind of old and new. I even pitched the idea of them doing a match tonight with Sean Waltman and Sami Zayn. Those two have wanted to work together for the longest time. Over a year ago, they were talking about wanting to work a match together at SummerSlam, and it didn't work out. And I thought to myself, hey, if Sean Waltman is still in shape, and of all the members of DX that we saw tonight, Triple H will never wrestle again. Shawn Michaels, hopefully, will never wrestle again. He never should have come back in 2018. He should have left well enough alone at WrestleMania with The Undertaker. Road Dogg should not be back in the ring either. And you have Waltman. And Waltman still keeps himself in pretty good shape. And Waltman, I think, is angling maybe for a cameo at the Royal Rumble. But I think they could have done it. I think you could have worked out an angle with these factions in the ring together. jaw-jacking back and forth, and it leads to a challenge being issued, and you get Sean Waltman and Sami Zayn tonight. You could have worked something out there, but they didn't do that. We did get Sami Zayn in the ring against Matt Riddle in a match that really had no heat. It was actually shockingly tame, I thought, the crowd reaction to that main event match. But we did have DX. We had the Bloodline on this show. But Brock Lesnar is back. We have not seen Brock Lesnar since he lost to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. Remember the big spot they did with the tractor, and then they piled all the furniture on top of Brock, and Roman beat him, and hopefully that's the last we'll see of them in the ring together. That may be the best part of this, is that Brock came back and he didn't go after Roman Reigns. They're finally moving him on to somebody else, but it is a familiar face that we have seen him in the ring with before, not only in the ring with before, but in the ring with this year. Brock Lesnar came for Bobby Lashley tonight. Bobby Lashley was to have defended the United States Championship against Seth Rollins, and he did. And he lost. We have a new United States champion, and it's all because Brock Lesnar came out before the match. He confronted Bobby Lashley in the ring, and he laid him out with not one but two F5s. That now sets up sweet Saudi money coming up next month, because you know if there's a Saudi Arabia show coming, you know that Brock's going to be on that show. If not Brock, it'll be Goldberg. It'll be one of those two. This time it's Brock. I'd rather have Brock than Goldberg. So we're going to get Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley most likely next month in Saudi Arabia. That'll be the double. It'll be a twin bill for Crown Jewel. We've got Logan Paul against Roman Reigns, and we're going to have Bill Goldberg. I got Bill Goldberg on the brain. 25 years ago, by the way, last month, the debut of Bill Goldberg. But we're going to have Brock Lesnar against Bobby Lashley. And as somebody who was a very vocal advocate of that match earlier this year, I was left disappointed. And so I look forward to seeing them back in the ring again. I am hoping they have a better match than the one they had at the Royal Rumble. But again, we do have a new U.S. champion. But that wasn't all. We had Bray Wyatt come back at Extreme Rules. We had Brock Lesnar come back to Monday Night Raw tonight. Fucking Elias is coming back next week. Oh, joy. Elias is going to be back on Monday Night Raw. But Triple H was not done with the return. See, Triple H is in full Tony Khan mode right now. Right now in WWE, it's all about the surprises and the returns. He is in full TK mode. AJ Styles came tonight to confront Finn Balor in the Judgment Day and teased that he was going to join with them. But then he swerved him at the last minute, and he brought out some old friends of his. But not just any friends. He brought out some old friends, one of whom is currently a champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. How's that going to work out? We'll talk about all of this. This is your Monday Night Raw review for October 10th, 2022. I am the Solomonster. You know, I got some tweets and messages during the show, and I did see it. I saw it myself, and I was very happy to see that in the crowd tonight at the Barclays Center, I'm looking during the Miz and Maurice birthday celebration segment, which that was a complete waste of time. But the only reason that it was not a waste of time, well, besides Maurice, of course, it's always nice to see Maurice. Maurice was looking just... It's always good to see Maurice. But other than Maurice, something else caught my eye during that. It was hard for me to take my eyes off that, of course, but something else caught my eye during that segment, and what caught my eye was this gentleman here in the crowd, behind the man in red, holding up a Sound-Off Championship belt. And that right there is, I want to give a shout out to Kenji Miley. He did not tell me that he was going to be at the show tonight. But I thought to myself, there's only one other person in the world, literally one other person in the entire world, who has that championship other than myself. And it is Kenji Miley. He won it in the giveaway that we did during the Money in the Bank stream last year. So shout out to Kenji. There he is, holding up like Paul. He's like my Paul Heyman. Look at that, holding up the championship. There it is, the skull belt in the background, a beautiful championship belt. Shout out to Kenji. That was a very nice surprise to see. Hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel, and make sure that you have the notifications turned on for that, if you will. Super chats are open. I will be reading your super chats a little bit later on, or at least acknowledging them. I never really know what's going to be in these super chats. I make no guarantees about what I will or won't read, but generally speaking, we do read through all the super chats, so send them on in and hit that like button. We're looking for 500, at least 500 likes tonight to be the booker. So let's get into this show here. We're going to begin here with the gorilla position. It's my favorite position. I've used that position many times, the gorilla position. Should have that t-shirt made. I do it in the gorilla position. So we're in the back, and we see Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, and Road Dogg. They're all talking backstage. And they're asking one another if they're ready. You ready for the big reunion tonight? And then they turn, and the camera pans over, and we see sitting there with a headset on and his reading glasses is Triple H. Of course, is running the entire show now. So they look over at Triple H, and he stands up, and he says, it's the 25th anniversary of D-Generation X, but it's also the season premiere. And he said that they have to think about the sponsors, right? Times have changed. It's not 1997 anymore. You got to think about the sponsors. You got to think about all these different things. They have to make sure there's no cursing. You can't talk about your genitals. And Road Dogg asked him if they could say penis. Road Dogg was very concerned about penis, apparently. He did just get rehired. Maybe we know why. Anyway, so he's asking Triple H if it's okay to say penis on TV. X-Pac dropped an F-bomb that got censored. Michaels dropped lots of supposedly F-bomb, whatever it was. They were censoring him repeatedly. And then Shawn looks over and says he saw 4 cocks. And the camera pans over and they show 4 rubber chickens that are on Triple H's desk. And Triple H picked up one of the chickens. The other members said that we're going to leave you alone to play with your cock. And Shawn said that they should leave him to choke his chicken. And Triple H told them, hey, no fighting. And then he started cussing and they bleeped him out. And that was how we opened the show. Nothing like some dick jokes to open the show. We got a lot of cock jokes here at the beginning of the show. The Peacock folks should be very happy. This is great promotion for Peacock. So then we went live into the arena where Corey Graves introduced us to our new play-by-play voice for... You guys are too much. Our new play-by-play voice for Monday Night Raw. We had a big announcer shakeup. So Jimmy Smith is gone. He's been fired. And in his place now as the new full-time play-by-play guy for Monday Night Raw is Kevin Patrick, who's been handling backstage interviews. He's been doing commentary on Main Event now for about a year. And I did a whole segment on this. And I said that if you're going to make a change at the announce desk, you should make a change for the better, right? You should never downgrade or if you have somebody in the announce booth, he's got a certain voice. And Jimmy Smith was not bad. Jimmy Smith, he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. He certainly was an upgrade over Adnan Virk. And I didn't really have too many complaints about him. He was making mistakes in recent weeks that was noticeable. Corey Graves kept correcting him about certain things on TV. But you replace Jimmy Smith with Kevin Patrick, who I don't think is a better fit for the spot than Jimmy Smith was. So I'm not sure why you would fire the guy and replace him with somebody else who I don't think is any better than he was. That's a weird move to me, unless there was some other reason why they wanted to get rid of Jimmy Smith, which is always possible. Now that I've heard him call the show tonight, and Kevin Patrick called one episode of Raw back on the 4th of July that Jimmy Smith missed. So this was not his first time in the chair. And it's only one night. I didn't see anything or hear anything tonight that would make me change my mind about how I felt about it a few days ago. I don't know that this is going to work out long term, but he is the new play-by-play voice for Monday Night Raw. So the Bloodline made their way to the ring. Roman Reigns finally showed up to work on a Monday. How about that? When was the last time we saw Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw? I can't even remember. It's been a while. Sami Zayn is out there. He's rocking out to Roman's theme song. Reigns talked about how he likes to move forward, but he can't get past what happened on SmackDown last Friday. He said that his father taught him a long time ago that the loudest in the room is the weakest in the room. And he said that if you are the weakest in the room and you are part of the bloodline, that makes you a fool. And with that, he called out Jey Uso. And he asked Jey if he's a fool, and Sammy could see things were heading in a bad direction here. So he stepped in. Paul Heyman scolded him for interrupting the tribal chief, and Roman put his finger up and basically told Paul to shut up, and Paul apologized. Sammy remembers Roman last week telling him that Jey Uso now is his problem, which is exactly what Roman said. He said that as the honorary Uso, he would love the opportunity to handle the situation. And Reigns looked upset. Then he smiled and he said, this guy really is the honorary Uso. He goes, he's all yours. Go right ahead. And Roman leaned up against the apron. He took he stood next to Paul Heyman and he just watched. And Sammy told Jey, we all love you very much. And he said that he and Roman were spitballing the other night about the future of the bloodline. And Sammy looked over at Roman. He said, you and I, we talked about a lot of personal stuff. I feel like you and I made a connection. And Roman was kind of grinning at him. Sammy told Jey that his behavior lately just has not been very Usy. That is a word, apparently. His behavior is not very Usy. So Sammy started putting over Jimmy Uso. He turned to Jimmy. He goes, Jimmy's great. He's like, look at this guy. Look at the smile on this guy's face. He's asking, who doesn't love Jimmy Uso? Probably the other motorists on the road. So Sammy walked over to Solo Sikoa, who was standing there looking like he was looking like the top of the Andre Battle Royal trophy. He had his arms crossed like this. He was just standing there all stoic. And Sammy praised Solo as being serious, but also being pretty cool. He goes, that's the thing. We're all very cool. And he looked at Jey and he goes, you need to be more cool. Do you think you can be cool? And Jey can't believe what he's hearing. He looks over at Roman and Roman just looks at him and goes, don't look at me. But he's looking at him like, is this for real? Is this guy a joke? Like, what's going on here? All of this family drama was interrupted by Matt Riddle's theme music. Riddle walks out on stage. He mentions beating Seth Rollins in the fight pit. Riddle said that, Roman beat him once before, and he remembers the stipulation from that match, which is that if he lost the match, which he did, he would not be able to challenge for the championship again, so long as Roman Reigns is the champion, which I have to admit, I completely forgot about that stipulation. But he goes, come on. He goes, let's give Brooklyn the match they want to see. And everybody cheered like they wanted to see the match. And Roman asked Brooklyn if they should give Riddle one more chance. And then he said, nah, I don't think so. Riddle said that if Reigns won't step up to the plate, then maybe one of his bloodline bros would. And Jey kind of perked up and he looked over at Sammy and he goes, yeah, go ahead, Sammy. He's kind of egging him on, telling him to accept the challenge. This turned into a whole thing where they were using the word yeet over and over again. I don't know, where did this yeet thing begin? I know it didn't start with them. They didn't invent this. Isn't this some kind of like TikTok or Instagram thing? This whole yeet business. Who started this? I don't want this turning into the next what chant. They kept saying it over and over again like they wanted the crowd to keep chanting yeet after everything Sammy said. Thankfully, it didn't catch on. So Riddle said yeet, and Sammy said only the bloodline members can use that word, and so Riddle said it again, and eventually Sammy accepted the challenge. I like that they reminded us about that stipulation, because I completely forgot about it. I remember Roman beating Riddle on SmackDown, that I remember, but I did not remember the stipulation, so I'm glad they actually remembered that and brought that up, that Riddle couldn't challenge for the championship. More good stuff here, from everybody, but from Sammy and from Jey mainly. And the more I see Jey Uso in these segments, and I wasn't sold on this a few months ago, and I'm still not 100% sold on this just because you would be taking away your best tag team if you do this, but at some point we may be able to get another main event Jey Uso run out of him as a single. What he's doing, the character work he's doing right now is fantastic, man. I mean, he's the one of the feature players here in this storyline. It really is. It's Sammy, it's Roman, and it's him. It's Jey Uso. But I still maintain if this whole thing ends with anything but KO and Sammy winning the tag titles of WrestleMania from the Usos, then I think that would be a very big mistake. I don't know where Kevin Owens is, by the way. He was not on the show tonight. He might not have been on the show last week either, so I'm not sure if he's hurt. But there was no KO in Brooklyn tonight. We had Johnny Gargano one-on-one against Austin Theory. Theory put Gargano in his own Gargano escape, and Gargano escaped. Kind of defeats the purpose of the fucking move, doesn't it? The move is called the Gargano escape, and Gargano escaped the move. Not only did Gargano escape the move, when he got it on Theory a little while after that, Theory rolled out of it. So apparently it's very easy to get out of this hole. Theory powered him up to try to give him his finish. Gargano slipped out. Theory caught him with a super kick. Gargano connected with one of his own. That sent Theory out of the ring. Gargano dove through the ropes. He caught Theory by the head on the way down and DDT'd him on the floor. Then he put him back in the ring. He did the slingshot inside, hit the one final beat DDT, and he pinned him clean. 1, 2, 3. Gargano picks up the win. I see their MO has not changed here. Now that Vince McMahon is gone, Triple H has taken over for the last few months. Their modus operandi is still the same as it always was, which is to take the Money in the Bank winner and just beat him over and over and over like a fucking drum. They continue to do the exact same thing here to Austin Theory. He loses and loses and loses and loses and loses. And I cannot envision a scenario. I mean, I just cannot envision a legitimate scenario in which this guy beats the champion between now and WrestleMania. And Roman is the champion right now. So certainly if they don't split the titles, it ain't happening. Even if they do split the titles, there's a better chance of it. And I'm still not convinced that this fucking guy is in any kind of position to win a championship. Can you picture this guy being a champion in the next few months? The way he's being beaten constantly on television every single week. If they split the titles, there's a much better chance of that happening. I don't see it happening anytime before WrestleMania. Now, this guy's got a year to cash in. That would be July. He's going to cash in eventually. Is he going to be successful? I don't know. A lot of it depends on whether the titles are split and who has the titles at that time. Without knowing that, I can't say for sure, but what I can tell you is that I don't think it's happening until closer to the 1 year mark. I don't think anything's happening between now and Mania. I can't see it. I can't envision it. This guy's a fucking loser. We had Rey Mysterio set for action one-on-one against Chad Gable. I saw that on the lineup. I said, ooh, Mysterio and Gable, this should be good. Rey hit a sliding sunset bomb to the floor that sent Gable backwards into the LED barricade just before the Judgment Day's music hit. Out walks Dominic and Rhea Ripley, and as they're coming to the ring, we cut to a commercial break. Rhea was wearing an armband with Beth Phoenix's name on it, like she was fucking dead. After the break, Rey hit a 619 and a springboard splash for the pinfall win. After the match, Dominic gets in the ring, and here we go again. He wants his father to hit him, and he's yelling over and over again, hit me, hit me, hit me. Like he's in fucking Las Vegas. Hit me. He wants Rey to hit him. Rey can't bring himself to do it. Instead, Rey fights off the rest of the Judgment Day when they tried to get into the ring. Rey went for a 619 on Finn Balor. As he hit the ropes and came off, Dominic wrecked him. It looked like a clothesline. He wrecked him with a clothesline. I will say that whenever Dominic hits his father, he lays that shit in. There's not a doubt in my mind that Rey told him from the very beginning of this, lay that shit in when you hit me. Make it look good. Because every fucking time he hits his father, he just destroys him. And it looks great. So Dominic kept yelling at Rey. Rey got up. He looks like he's in near tears. He can't do it. He can't bring himself to do it. He goes to leave. Dominic knocks him from behind, hits him, and he goes face first into the top rope. Rhea, who is outside the ring, reaches up and pulls on Rey's arms. Now, Rey is draped over the middle rope in position for a 619. Dominic is milking the heat. He's getting a ton of heat. Right? He's milking the crowd reaction. He comes off the ropes. He hits the slowest 619 I've ever seen in my life. You ever wanted to see a 619 in slow motion? Here you go. Right after I just complimented him for laying his shit in on Rey Mysterio, we have the weakest 619 of all time. So then Dom stands over his father's body as the segment comes to a close. Like I said, Dominic is still getting a ton of heat. And whether they're piping in stuff or not, and again, I don't trust these people. So I'm sure they're still piping in a ton of stuff, even with whatever they may or may not be piping in. He's getting good heat. He's getting a good heel response from these crowds, and tonight was no exception. And when the day comes that Ray finally does pop his kid right in the mouth, it's going to get a great reaction. All right. Now, are they milking this for too long? Yes. I mean, this has been going on for quite a while now. But when that day comes, and I think it is coming soon, it's going to get a great reaction. Now, we've seen this story before. This is not the first time that we have seen this story play out on WWE television. May I take you back, all the way in the Wayback Machine, to 1993, with Bret Hart and Owen Hart. And then the beginning of 94 is when the final turn, the final knife in the back happened at the Royal Rumble. And Owen kicked Bret's leg out of his leg when they failed to win the tag team titles from the Quebecers. And Bret, this entire time, Bret said, I will not fight my brother. I will not fight my brother. It's tearing my parents apart. I will not fight my brother. What happened? He fought his brother at WrestleMania. Let's go back to 1997, right? We're talking about 25-year anniversaries. We just had the 25-year anniversary of the debut of Kane, who's going to be on Table for Three on Peacock this Friday. It's going to be Kane, Jerry Lawler, and Bret Hart on Table for Three. Bret needs better guests at the dinner table. But we just had the 25-year anniversary of Kane, right? Undertaker and Kane. Undertaker for weeks and weeks. I will not fight my brother. I will not fight my brother. He would stand there sometimes and let Kane just beat the shit out of him without doing anything. I will not fight my brother. What happened? He fought his brother at WrestleMania. This is going to be the exact same thing. They're going to drag it out a little bit longer. Eventually, Ray is going to finally pop off and he's going to punch his kid. And they should try to hold off until WrestleMania. Now, WrestleMania is a long time off. That's the only thing. This thing is peaking, I think, too early if you want to hold off until WrestleMania. But there are ways to milk this. I mean, you can have something happen. You take Ray off television for a couple of months to, sell some kind of an injury while the Judgment Day goes on to just do other stuff. And then you kind of come back to it. Ray comes back. Or, there are ways to kind of prolong this. But how much longer are people going to tolerate this before we finally get these two in the ring together? But this seems to be following the same blueprint as those two feuds that I just mentioned. Those were sibling rivalries. This is a little bit different. This is father and son. But it would seem to me like they're building to something between them at WrestleMania. After the break, the Judgment Day was still there. They were in the ring for a promo. Balor was boasting about beating Edge in the I Quit match that we had at Extreme Rules, which I thought was the best thing on the entire show. Talking about how he made Edge say the words, I quit. Balor said that he would not quit because he was too legit to quit. Which brought me back. It brought me back to my youth. That used to be one of my favorite songs. So I had to dig up the lyrics. I had to dig up part of the lyrics here. Indulge me for a moment, if you would. I dig 'em smack, I'll get you back, and I'll hit with a dose of Oaktown power and charge you by the hour. I'm shaking like a quake and punks get devoured. I choose to abuse, misuse, and confuse. There you go. I nailed it. Fucking love it. MC Hammer, man. So anyway, Balor set up a video package that showed all the events that went down on Saturday at Extreme Rules, including Rhea Ripley bashing Beth Phoenix's brains in with a steel chair, right? She gave her a concerto. It was this big dramatic angle, so they replayed the entire thing. They showed highlights of the entire thing. We come back live, and Dominic said that watching Rhea smash Beth with the concerto did it for me, and I know that it did it for all of you too. Now, what does he mean when he says it did it for me? Did he have a little accident on Saturday? Did he have to go clean himself up when he got to the back? What exactly did he... You know what? I don't want to know. Don't even want to know. But he said that it did it for him. He said his favorite part, other than 619ing his father, was seeing the pathetic and devastated look on his face. So Dominic talked about 619ing his father. Thank God he put that one in there, because otherwise this would have been fucking weird. Dominic said that Ray deserves to feel as useless and helpless as Ray made him feel throughout his entire life. Balor brought up AJ Styles. He decided to talk about Uncle Alan, he said. He changed the subject, and now he's talking about AJ Styles. And AJ Styles comes out to the ring. He gets inside. He says, you know, I'm not here to argue with you. He says, I told you, or he said Balor was right. Everything that Balor's been saying, he goes, Balor is right. He said, everything that I've ever needed was standing right in front of me. And he said that with his back against the wall, he realized that he needed help. He said that there comes a time when a man needs friends. And Styles said that he needed family. I thought we were getting the post WrestleMania 14 promo here, where Triple H came out, and it was when he took over DX. Remember when he came out and he said, you know, sometimes you look to your blood, right? And then he brought out X-Pac as the newest member of DX. I thought that we were going to get a similar thing here as kind of an homage, since both of them were in the building, actually. DX was in the building for this show. Styles dropped to one knee. He bowed in front of Balor. Balor, helped him back up to his feet, and they hugged. And Balor said that he was proud of AJ, and he knew that he would come around. And Styles held on to the hug, and he said, I wasn't talking about you. And all of a sudden, we hear music that sounds awfully familiar, and they got a good reaction. Out comes Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. The Good Brothers are back in WWE. So they come out, and they join AJ in the ring. They got a holy shit chant. USA Network decided to bleep it out every 3 seconds, which is insanely annoying. They did this multiple times on the show. USA Network apparently is allergic to the word shit. And so at the mere mention of it, they bleep out the mention of the singular word. So instead of just bleeping things out, you may as well just go ahead and bleep out 10 seconds straight. Instead, they bleep out shit, then the audio comes back. They bleep out shit, the audio comes back. They bleep out shit, the audio comes back. It is the most insanely fucking annoying thing that you will ever hear. Why even bother? One of the things I actually appreciate about AEW. People say shit literally every segment on that show. And I think recently maybe they have taken to censoring certain things, but I don't think they do that on the show. So that was very annoying. Just let the fucking chants play. What is the big deal? Do they think that actually sounds good? They can't possibly think that sounds good. Gallows threw an uppercut at Dominic. Big brawl broke out. Anderson followed Dominic outside. He was working him over with punches. Balor fled the ring. Styles followed, and he tackled Balor over the announce desk. Gallows slammed a chair across Damian Priest's back. Rhea pulled Dominic to safety over the barricade, and they fled into the crowd. Balor was left all alone, and he managed to scurry away. And all the members of the Judgment Day, they kind of linked back up on the stage. They came back together. And Styles, Gallows, and Anderson, they stayed back in the ring. They did the Too Sweet hand sign to close out the segment. I cannot confirm this, but I do have a source that was in my ear tonight telling me that Paul Heyman was seen locking himself in a bathroom stall when he heard that Anderson and Gallows were back on Monday Night Raw. I cannot confirm. I can neither confirm nor deny the story. But I know that Anderson and Gallows were not very happy with Heyman. Neither was AJ Styles. And the way that all went down when they got released from the company. So the OC is back. And there were rumors about this all day long. On PW Insider and Fightful, they had stories. And the Observer had something. So it was pretty obvious that they were coming back. We just didn't know when. PW Insider said that they were spotted in DC recently with AJ filming something. I don't know what that was. I'm sure that whatever segment they filmed will pop up on TV in the next few weeks. So it was pretty clear they were coming back. I just didn't know it was going to be tonight. I didn't know it was going to be happening now. But there they were. And look, if you have been watching this show over the past several weeks, it shouldn't have been that much of a surprise that this might happen because AJ has been outnumbered and outgunned by the Judgment Day now for weeks. So it stands to reason that he would look to his friends, he would look for backup. Anderson and Gallows, their contracts with Impact Wrestling just expired recently, but they were doing stuff with New Japan. So that was kind of the little wrinkle in everything, but this really shouldn't have been all that much of a surprise. Now, I look at the pros and cons of this. The pros of this is that it fits the story. AJ has found backup. These are his friends. They have Bullet Club roots. So does Balor. So there's some Bullet Club intrigue involved here. So that helps AJ even out the odds, so he doesn't get his ass kicked every single week. The other benefit is it does add a tag team to a division that desperately needs tag teams. Anderson and Gallows are a legitimate team, and so adding them to the tag team division just gives them, it's like one more bullet in the chamber, right? Which is never a bad thing. So those are the positives of this. The cons are that I don't care about Anderson and Gallows. I really don't. When I heard their music and they came out, I just kind of shrugged. I cannot bring myself to care. And maybe that has to do with the way their last run went, where they were just so beaten down. And I know they've spent time in Impact up until recently, and again, I didn't care about that either. So maybe this time it'll be different. Maybe things will be different now. Obviously, it's Triple H running the show now and not Vince McMahon. They put them back together with AJ. You've got Balor involved. That's kind of interesting that these guys all get to work together. Maybe things will be different. But I cannot bring myself to get excited about Anderson and Gallows, the Good Brothers. I don't really care. What I do find interesting, though, is that Carl Anderson is the current never openweight champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He has a singles title. At the moment, as we speak, he is a champion in New Japan. That I find very interesting. And as I said, maybe things will be different under Triple H than they would have been under Vince McMahon. Maybe they will actually allow him to defend the title, to go back and drop the title, instead of just saying, nope, you can't go back, and now New Japan is left, having to just vacate the championship. This is exactly what happened when Shinsuke Nakamura got signed. When Shinsuke came to the company, I believe at that time he had the IWGP Intercontinental title. And he signed with WWE, and what happened? He had to vacate the championship. The title was vacated. And that was, what I was expecting to happen here, but then a weird thing happened during the show tonight. The official New Japan World Twitter account retweeted the WWE tweet showing the video from the segment tonight. So New Japan retweeted WWE. And then we had Hikuleo, who was supposed to challenge Carl Anderson November 5th in Osaka for the never openweight title. He tweeted at Anderson during the show saying, basically, are you ducking me? So they weren't, shying away from this or running from this or anything. They were kind of, they were embracing it. They're like, oh, okay, let's retweet them and let's talk about this and let's kind of tease now that, is the match going to happen? Is the match not going to happen? So that's something to consider here. Look, Triple H, do I think that Triple H would be more open to allowing talent in a situation like this to finish their obligations, to go and do the honors and drop the championship the right way? I have seen no evidence of this. I've seen no evidence of this. Even something like Karrion Kross, who signed with WWE, he had different bookings that he was scheduled for. One of those bookings was a match with Low Ki that was promoted pretty heavily for House of Glory. And I was looking forward to that match. I was looking forward to calling that match. And I was kind of hoping, just personally, that they would allow him to finish out, that match and some of his other bookings. Nope, they didn't allow him to finish out his booking. So I haven't seen any evidence that Triple H's philosophy is going to be all that different from Vince McMahon's philosophy. Well, here's an opportunity for him to prove me wrong. We'll see if Carl Anderson defends against Hikuleo or not. My guess is that the title is just gonna be vacated. That's my guess. It would be very cool if Triple H was more open to, I'm not saying Forbidden Door Part 2. I'm just saying to keep the doors open of communication between the two companies and just be willing to work with one another in situations like this. I think that would be a very cool thing. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see how that all unfolds. But yeah, very interesting to see a New Japan champion pop up on WWE tonight. So we had footage that aired from earlier in the night of Byron Saxton interviewing Damage Control. They were in a bar area somewhere backstage at the Barclays Center, like a lounge, it looked like. And Saxton was asking Bayley if her loss to Bianca Belair was a setback in their plan to take control of the women's division. And Dakota Kai spoke up and said that she was at rock bottom when Bayley contacted her. Bayley was the only person who reached out to her and offered a helping hand. And she said that she would do anything for Bayley or Io Sky. And then she asked if you could say the same thing about Bianca and Asuka and Alexa Bliss. And Dakota said that they will punish Belair when Bayley gets her rematch. Io said something in Japanese that Bayley translated by saying that Sky said she would kick Candice LeRae's ass because they had a match tonight. Roman Reigns was shown walking in the back in the parking garage area with Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman. Jey Uso showed up and he asked where Reigns was going, and Roman said that Paul he's got us set up in Manhattan tonight. We're going to be hitting the town here in New York. He didn't say where, though. I know Heyman's got some places he likes. Heyman's a New York guy. Probably hitting one of the, maybe they're hitting Smith and Walensky, right? One of the great steakhouses in New York. Maybe they're hitting that. He didn't say. Maybe they're going to hit the strip club. Maybe they're going to hit the strip club. Maybe they're going to hit late. Well, we won't get into that. I don't know of any strip clubs here in New York. Moving on. So Reigns told him, he goes, look, you're going to stay behind. You're staying behind with Sami Zayn. I need you to make sure that the honorary Uso wins his match tonight against Matt Riddle. And Jay wanted Solo Sikoa to come with him. Reigns said, nope, he's coming with us. We have Bayley one-on-one against the Poison Pixie. That's her nickname, in case you don't know. You're still calling her the Poison Pixie. Candice LeRae. Candice sold a knee injury from a Bayley attack. This was during an ad break. Bayley targeted the bad knee. She went for her rose plant finish. LeRae rolled her into a pin, and she got the upset win. So this has not been a good few days for Bayley. Dakota Kai and Io Sky ran out and attacked Candice in the aisleway after. And they brought her back into the ring. Bianca Belair, she looked like she was limping on her way to the ring after the ladder match on Saturday. So she kind of hopped on down to the ring. And she got ganged up on. And they laid out Bianca. Bianca was laid out by an elbow drop from the middle rope from Bayley. So Bayley lost at Extreme Rules. She got rolled up and pinned here by Candice LeRae. I don't know why she would deserve a rematch, which is clearly the direction they're going in here. We're going to get a rematch at some point between Bayley and Bianca, maybe Crown Jewel, for the Raw Women's Championship. But she's lost 2 matches in a row now, so she's going to have to win some kind of number 1 contenders match as far as I'm concerned. Otherwise, that doesn't make any sense. And also, you can see the women's War Games match kind of coming into focus. Now, you don't know what involvement there may be from the SmackDown side, right? Becky Lynch is not back yet. I fully expect Becky Lynch to be back in time for the women's War Games match. But you're seeing, Bianca, Alexa, Asuka. On the other side, Damage Control. Ronda Rousey is officially a heel now, by the way. If that wasn't clear the other night, on the internal roster, she is listed as a heel. That's exactly the direction they need to be going in. I've been talking about that now for the last couple of months. Heel Ronda. When we get to WrestleMania, it has to be heel Ronda and babyface Becky. Becky's a babyface, right? She turned right before she went away to heel up. Ronda now is a heel. The stage is set. But the stage could also be set for them to do something on opposing teams in the War Games match. So we're starting to see things come into focus. You know, I see a lot of people talking about the Judgment Day and how, oh, that they're probably going to be in the War Games match. I don't know why people would be thinking this. I mean, the War Games match, to me, it just seems tailor-made for the Bloodline. So you're looking at Roman, you're looking at the Usos, Sammy, Solo. I don't know why people are talking about Judgment Day and Edge and AJ and the OC. That War Games match, it's tailor-made for the Bloodline. You can come up with any number of guys that'll be on the babyface team. But if the Bloodline is not in the War Games match, then what the hell are we doing here? I don't know why people are so... I see people talking about the Balor's group being in that match. No, it's got to be the Bloodline. Unless they're going to do some kind of weird thing, which is what they did actually with NXT. I think the very first one they did, I think they had multiple teams. Didn't they have like 3 teams, I think, in the War Games match? I hope they're not doing that. I hope not. It needs to be 5-on-5. That's it. You don't have to overcomplicate things. Maurice. Maurice. Maurice was in the ring to host the Miz's birthday celebration. There were 2 tables in the ring filled with gifts and a cake. They had balloons attached to the ring post. Well, look, I mean, if we're talking about a birthday party, we got to get some confetti. We have to get some confetti. If we're doing a birthday party, that's how we do things around here. We got to bring down the confetti. So there we go. See, we're all about the special effects here on this stream. So they had balloons that were attached to the ring posts. Maurice introduced The Miz. He made his entrance with a baseball bat that Maurice had presented to him in the back as a gift right before they came out, just in case Dexter Lumis showed up. This is also where I spotted the custom Solomonster belt. There it is again. You tuned in late. Shout out to Kenji Miley. Hopefully he'll be watching this when he gets home. Kenji Miley showing some love for the Sound Off. He is the only person other than myself to have possession of a Sound Off championship belt. Probably will always be the one and only person to have possession of that belt. Maurice said that she spent so much money on that bat, and she told Miz to read the baseball bat. There was something written on it. It was signed. And Miz said that it was signed by the best slugger in the game. We know that can't be anybody from the fucking Mets. It was Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. And that got heat. Not as much as you would expect. It's not like insulting making a basketball joke in Seattle. It wasn't nuclear heat. But Miz taunted the New York crowd for thinking that he was going to say Aaron Judge. Maurice presented Miz with 2 giant red balls with Miz's face on them. Miz got a tiny balls chant. He went to go open a gift, one of the big gift boxes that was on one of the tables, and he was struggling to pull it up. He couldn't get the lid off the gift. So finally, he pulls the lid off, and we see Dexter Lumis's head is sticking up from underneath the table. And Miz has his back turned, so at first he doesn't realize this, and finally he turns, and he gets freaked out, and he starts playing whack-a-mole with the baseball bat. By the time he starts whacking away, right? So the Miz is just whacking away here, right? Lumis is gone, though. And then he overturns the table. There's no Lumis. So he's looking around, and Maurice is looking around. Lumis sneaks into the ring. He comes up from behind them. And he puts the head and neck choke back on the Miz again. Miz starts flailing around while he's in the hold, and he's kicking. And he accidentally boots his wife, who goes forward and almost goes into the cake, but stops herself. But then Miz ends up doing it again, and she kind of awkwardly fell into the cake. She had to clumsily force herself. It didn't look good. She had to very much force herself into the cake. So Miz ended up escaping. He ran out of the ring. He ran backstage. He left his wife. He left his wife all by herself. Tiny balls. So Mariz. I just fused the 2 of them together. Did you see what I did there? Holy shit, my brain works in weird ways. I didn't even plan that. If they were a tag team, you would call them Mariz. What a great fucking name. Holy shit, that works well. Mariz. I'm going to call them that from now on. I like that. So he leaves his wife all by herself. And she's got cake all over her, and she shrieks, and she runs out of the ring, and she runs to the back. So Loomis is standing in the ring now all by himself. And he goes over to one of the tables. He goes over to the table by the cake. And he grabs the knife. And he walks over to the balls, and he pops the balls with the knife. One ball at a time. And the crowd starts chanting, "Eat the cake, eat the cake." And so Dexter goes over to the cake and he cuts himself a piece and he eats it. Outside of being able to see Maurice here in this segment, who was looking stunning tonight, outside of being able to see Maurice, this was a waste of time. This entire segment was a complete waste of time. They have squeezed about as much out of the sponge as they could possibly squeeze. That fucking thing is bone dry by now. It is time to move on with this, and they are next week. Because right after this, in the back, there was a segment where Miz and Maurice was cake all over her. Miz is freaking out. He confronts Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, and X-Pac. And he's freaking out about what just happened. He's complaining about Dexter Loomis and Shawn, who, of course, he knows Dexter Loomis, right? He says, well, I know the guy, and he's a quiet guy, but he's a good guy. And he goes, I just know that you must have done or said something to piss him off. And Miz said, I didn't do anything. I don't know the guy. I don't know what I could have done. So Road Dogg pipes up, and he proposes that Miz faces Loomis next week with the stipulation that if Loomis should lose that match, then Dexter Loomis will be gone forever. But if Dexter Loomis wins the match, and this is what he said. This is what Road Dogg said. He said if Miz loses the match, he would forfeit his balls. Meaning, so he was holding wasn't he holding them? He was holding the balls that Dexter popped. And basically he would have to give his balls up to Dexter Loomis. I don't know what the fuck that is supposed to mean, but Road Dogg came up with it, so I'm not surprised. But at least we're finally moving things along. We're finally going to get whatever this next chapter. I was going to say finally we're going to get a match. We already had one. Didn't we already have one? No, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of the cage match where Dexter popped up from underneath the ring. So we're finally going to get a match between these two. Let's move things along here, shall we? Let's go already. I mean, this is ridiculous at this point. We had a quick Omos squash. He beat two local boys. That's it. I don't have anything else to say about that. Up next, we were supposed to get the United States Championship match between Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley. Shout out to Sean, who just subscribed, Sean Burke. Just subscribe to the channel. Welcome, Sean. Good to have you. If he loses, then Dexter wins Maurice. See, now that would have been a stipulation. But then he would be cheating on Indy Hartwell, right? So we can't have that. Lashley made his entrance, and he took the microphone. He said that he would be a fighting champion for the fans. Right? He told us that from day one when he won the title. He would be a fighting champion. He said that he's beaten Drew McIntyre. He's beaten Roman Reigns.
With a tear in my eye.
Hey, Justin, thank you for the 1992 Ric Flair Super Chat. Yeah, Bobby Lashley was on Good Day New York because they were doing local press all week here for the show. So he was on Channel 5. He was on the Fox Morning Show. And the footage in the bumper that they showed to preview that he was coming on in the next hour, they showed footage of Bobby Lashley pinning Roman Reigns. So whatever pay-per-view that was, this was going back 4 years, I think. They showed him pinning Roman Reigns as the lead-in footage for the Bobby Lashley segment. So I was at the gym. I looked up and I'm like, I'm starting to work out. I look up, I say, fucking wrestling. I can't get away from this shit. I try to get away for an hour. So I get my cardio done. I look up, I'm watching more wrestling. Everywhere I look, I'm watching wrestling. I can't get away from it. But he says he's beaten Drew McIntyre, he's beaten Roman Reigns, he's beaten Brock Lesnar, which should have been like, okay, there's a reason for that. So he calls for Seth Rollins to come out and get his ass whooped. And boy, you know, Brock Lesnar must have some kind of, what is it, ESP or whatever they call it. Like, he just happened to know that Bobby Lashley was going to name drop him on this show. And like clockwork, as soon as Lashley mentioned his name, he had the music all queued up, and here he comes. Here comes Brock Lesnar. They play his music. We got Cowboy Brock, hat and all. He comes down to the ring. He circles the ring like a shark. He gets inside with a mic. He says, well, holy shit, which of course USA Network censored. He said, good evening to the Brooklyn crowd. And then he looked at Lashley. It went face to face in the middle of the ring. Lashley held up his U.S. title. And Brock said that, he said good evening to him as well. He said, good evening, Bobby Lashley. And then he scooped him up. He grabbed him. He scooped him up onto his shoulders. He gave him an F5. Corey Graves on commentary was asking, why? Why is he doing this? He was wondering why Brock Lesnar would come out here and he would do this to Bobby Lashley, forgetting that Bobby Lashley has a win over Brock Lesnar earlier this year at the Royal Rumble. And also forgetting the fact that it's time for another one of those sweet Saudi paydays. So, of course, that's why Brock Lesnar is back. Can't forget about that. So the fans loved Bobby Lashley so much that they chanted one more time. Brock obliged and he picked him up, but not before hitting one German suplex. And what we learned tonight here in this segment is that it has been 10 months and Bobby Lashley still has not learned how to take a German suplex from Brock Lesnar. He lands on his shoulder. It's like he's afraid to land on his back and his neck, which I can understand, but that's the way that everybody who takes the move lands, right? They probably absorb most of it in their shoulders, but they land relatively flat. Bobby kind of lands on like he's afraid to. So he turns, and what ends up happening is all that weight comes crashing down on his shoulder. That's how he got hurt in the first place. Remember he got hurt? They had to take him out of the Elimination Chamber match. Like he was gone like 60 seconds into the match. They thought he might need surgery. He made it back in time for WrestleMania. He had the match with Omos. But I think that's how he aggravated his shoulder or hurt his shoulder. Landing that way. He took a whole bunch of suplexes in the match with Brock, and he landed that way every single time. He turns, he lands on his shoulder, so he did the exact same thing here. Brock hit a second F5, which got another one more time chant. This time, Brock got him in a Kimura lock before finally releasing the hold. So Brock left. There, oh, see, there it is. There it is. Look at that. Perfect timing. Domination Warrior with the super chat. There's Dexter Lumis creepily peeking out from under the ring. That was during the cage match a few months ago that Miz had with someone. I don't remember who. But that was the spot that I was remembering before. So Brock left, and Corey Graves was wondering if Bobby would still be able to compete. Are we going to have a United States Championship match after what we just saw? Lashley was still down at ringside after the break. They showed the replay of the previous segment. Seth Rollins made his entrance. He had his ribs all taped up from the Fight Pit match on Saturday. Trainers and referees, they were at ringside by the announce desk tending to Bobby Lashley. He was down on one knee. And Rollins is barking at the officials, get him in the ring. And Lashley he's kind of selling that his arm is hurt. His arm could be broken. We don't know. Rollins gets a microphone. He tells Lashley that you're not getting out of this match that easily. And he remembers Lashley saying that he was a fighting champion. Lashley kept walking. He was about to make his way to the back. And Rollins said that Lashley is supposed to be a soldier. And Lashley stopped in his tracks and he turned around to look at Rollins. And Rollins was struggling he wanted to say something to get this guy to come back. So he said, not only are you a disgrace to your championship, you're a disgrace to the United States Championship, you're a disgrace to your country. That was it. Those were fighting words from Seth Rollins. And that was enough to get Lashley to come back to the ring for the match. The referee was asking Lashley, are you sure? Do you want to do this? Lashley, of course, dumb babyface syndrome, says yes. We had another case tonight of DBS, dumb babyface syndrome, rearing its head here on Monday Night Raw. So the referee calls for the bell. Lashley goes for a spear. Rollins catches him coming in with a leaping pedigree. Goes for the pin, only gets a near fall. Got 2.5 on that. Rollins followed that up with a top rope frog splash for another near fall. Rollins went for the stomp. Lashley avoided it. Lashley speared him. Both guys struggled to their feet. Lashley tried to put him in the hurt lock. Rollins attacked the injured arm, though. Hit a rolling elbow, super kick, second rolling elbow. Hit him with 2 stomps, and then finally pinned him in about 2.5 minutes to become the new United States champion. I believe this begins his second reign as the U.S. champ. I know he at least had the U.S. title once, because I remember the SummerSlam match with him and John Cena, where it was champion against champion. Rollins won. He had both belts, so I remember that. I believe this is reign number 2 for him. I thought this was well done. I thought they protected Lashley as much as they could, even though, again, the whole dumb babyface thing. The story there is, that he was showing a lot of guts and I mean, look, I think it's stupidity, but I'm always with the heel announcers on this. Like Bobby Heenan used to say, more guts than brains. But they were showing that this guy's tough. He's got courage. He's got heart. They tried to protect him, right? They had Brock beat him up before the match. Then when the match began, he took a pedigree and kicked out. It took 2 curb stomps. All of this is what it took to finally put this man down. So they tried to make him or keep him strong and make him look as good as they possibly could. Rollins bounces back from a major loss on Saturday by coming out tonight and winning a championship, even though it was cheap. And Lashley now gets to go for revenge against Brock Lesnar. Clearly, this is going to be the match at Crown Jewel. And if they're going to do this match, and whether it's Crown Jewel or Survivor Series or whatever, if they're going to do Lashley and Brock, it's not going to be for the U.S. title. What does Brock Lesnar need the U.S. title for? You may as well get rid of the title if you put it on him. It doesn't need to be for a championship. So you had to get that title off Lashley somehow before you do the match with Brock and Bobby. This was their way of doing that. This was hardly a clean win, but you had to get the belt off of him if the next step for Lashley is going to be Crown Jewel with him and Brock. So this was their way of doing that. I was, as I said before, a very big proponent of their first match. For years, I would say, why is Vince McMahon not considering Brock Lesnar against Bobby Lashley? Brock Lesnar has been back in this company since 2012. Bobby Lashley has been back in this company since 2018. How come we have not had a match between these two men? When are we going to see it? And we finally did earlier this year at the Royal Rumble, and I remember it being disappointing. I want to see the rematch. I know these two are capable of having a better match. I don't know if that's what we're going to get. We know Brock is going to German the shit out of him. Lashley, for his sake, I hope he learns how to take the move better, because it can't be good landing on his shoulder. Even if he doesn't want to take it the other way, I don't know. Don't take the move, right? But you're not going to have a Brock Lesnar match without a gazillion German suplexes, so you better get used to it. I don't want to come out of this pay-per-view hearing that Bobby Lashley is back on the injured list with a shoulder injury. Byron Saxton, who got booted off the announce team, he got demoted to backstage interviewer, which I'm fine with, because I prefer a 2-man booth on this show over a 3-man booth. I know you had one announcer for each hour, right, on a 3-hour show, but I love the 2-man booth, right? I'm not sold on Kevin Patrick in this chair at all, but I do like the fact that Triple H is making a move back to the 2-man booth. So Byron caught up with Lashley in the back. Lashley said that he's pissed off. He would deal with Seth Rollins. He challenged Brock Lesnar to show up on Raw next week. And he said that he would show him that the Beast is nothing but a little bitch. We then got a Bray Wyatt video. I didn't even think we were going to get one of these. I thought they were going to just show us the highlights from Extreme Rules, and I didn't think he was going to be on the show at all. I figured they would save it for Friday. We did get a video. And this video aired with some distorted images of the mask, the black phone mask that he was wearing at the pay-per-view on Saturday. His voice said that he used to play in the prison inside his own head, but there's only one place that he can truly be free. And then he said, revel in what you are. He said that over and over again. Revel in what you are. That was the tweet. Remember, I pointed that out a few weeks ago. We were doing all the QR code stuff. And I said that there was a tweet from last year. No, I'm sorry, 3 years ago. That guy, Rob Schamberger, had done a Bray Wyatt Fiend painting. And Bray tweeted about it. And in that tweet, he said, revel in what you are. So there's some connection here to that. Now, there was a commercial mentioning that, teasing that there would be more on SmackDown. SmackDown is in New Orleans on Friday. They never explicitly stated that he would be on the show, only that there'll be some kind of, tease for him or some kind of video or something involving Bray on Friday night. We also got an ad hyping the return of Elias next week. That's wonderful. Matt Riddle, one-on-one with Sami Zayn. Crowd was pretty tame for most of this. Riddle is over and Sami is over. Sami was over in the opening segment a lot. I thought the crowd, at least to my ear, the crowd sounded pretty tame for this. Zayn went for the haluva kick. Riddle power slammed him instead. Riddle went for a draping DDT. Zayn avoided it. He sent Riddle to ringside. Now, both Usos were outside. Jimmy and Jay were outside the ring for this match. Jimmy wanted to get involved. He wanted to help out Sami. Jay held him back. Riddle threw a series of kicks at Sami, rolled him back inside. Sami went for a blue thunder bomb. Riddle countered that into an RKO for the win. So Jay listened to what Sami had told him. Sami was like, stay out of it. And he stayed out of it, but it also went against what Roman Reigns told him before he left the arena. He said, I want you here to make sure that Sami wins this match. Now that Sami lost, we build to the next segment on SmackDown on Friday, where I'm sure Roman Reigns will not be very happy. So we will be getting a very unhappy champion in our next As the World Turns segment with the Bloodline on Friday night. So as Riddle was leaving and celebrating, they played the DX entrance music. First, it was Extreme Rules when Riddle left the ring and was celebrating that the lights went out and Bray Wyatt came back. Tonight, he got cut off by DX's music. I think what happened is they realized, oh shit, we're running late. They only had about 5 minutes left in the show, 5 or 6 minutes. So they played the DX music. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, and Road Dogg, they rode out in their Jeep, or I'm sorry, their tank. They tossed glow sticks into the crowd. First thing that X-Pac did was he gave a shout out to China, which I thought was very cool. Road Dogg did his classic intro. He called themselves Geriatric X instead of DX. When they got to the Billy Gunn part, where he says, the Road Dogg Jesse James, and then usually he goes the badass Billy Gunn. Obviously, there's no Billy Gunn. He's scissoring people on the other channel. So instead of him saying the Billy Gunn part, he let the crowd say it. He just put the mic up and the crowd said Billy Gunn. Corey Graves said that that guy's doing something with office equipment these days, which I thought was kind of funny. Hey, at least they didn't have to deal with the daddy ass chants. Supposedly, they were ready for that. They were expecting the crowd might start chanting daddy ass during this show. And I don't know what they had in mind, but apparently they were ready. But they didn't have to worry about it because I didn't hear them. If there were chants for Billy Gunn like that, then they were not loud enough that I could hear them. Triple H made a weed joke, saying that it smells funny in here. Triple H said that 25 years is a long time, but he has just one thing he wants to know. Are you ready? Wanted to know if Brooklyn was ready. Brooklyn's always ready. Said for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching at home, he thanked the crowd for 25 years. He said, let's get ready to suck it, which it sounded ridiculous even back then, but now that they're so fucking old, they're out there going, let's get ready to suck it. It's just ridiculous. Shawn Michaels took the mic. He said 25 glorious years of D-Generation X, but he's going to put all of us on the spot. He goes, you got to promise me, if we're back out here 25 years from now, you'll put us out of our misery. And if you ain't down with that, we got 2 words for you. And the crowd chanted, suck it. That was it. Best thing I can say about this, it was a segment. It was a segment. I still think that some kind of confrontation with the Bloodline would have been the way to go. I think that would have been cool, but they kept them separate. They kept them separate, so what are you going to do? Look, if you paid for a ticket to the show to see DX, you got to see DX, but DX didn't do anything, so. I didn't expect Triple H to get physical or anything. I'm just saying that it was a pretty ho-hum thing. But on the whole, I thought it was a good episode. Again, I was never really bored. I mean, there were a couple of segments like the Omos squash, but I mean, they were so short. You know, the Miz segment was a total waste of time. That was probably the worst thing on the entire show. But they did a better job than usual of filling the 3 hours in such a way that it kept it entertaining. So I thought it was a good show. And again, Triple H relying very heavily on returns. We had Bray Wyatt on Saturday. Tonight we had Brock Lesnar. We had Carl Anderson. We had Luke Gallows. Next week, Elias is coming back. They've been waiting, I guess, for him to grow the beard. I guess the beard is fully grown. So we're getting Elias back. So he really is. He's doing his best Tony Khan impression right now. He's relying very heavily. He's leaning in very heavily on these comebacks to the show. People that were let go and released under the previous regime. He is bringing them back. So we'll see. We'll see how things shake out. I'm very curious if Anderson has to vacate the championship, or if they will actually allow him to finish out his obligations there. If Triple H wants to show that he's different, he runs things differently than they were run before, let the guy go back to New Japan and finish out his obligations. Let him drop the title to Hikuleo or somebody else. That would show me that he's actually interested in forging a new path for himself. Being a little more open to working with other promotions when it comes to stuff like this. Instead of being so close-minded and saying, no, you can't do that. I would like there to be more of an open relationship between WWE and New Japan. New Japan can still work with AEW. I would like to see everybody working together. I just am taking a believe it when I see it approach, because it's just not how WWE operates. Take a look at the Twitter poll. 75% of you have given this show tonight a thumbs up. Thumbs in the middle, 17%. And just 8% of you have given this show a thumbs down. So a lot of fans of the show tonight. Hey, Francisco, thank you, brother, for the $4.99. Thank you, Francisco. Let's take a look at your super chats here. Let's go through your questions and comments about this show tonight. It's a big Monday Night Raw show here in New York. I had somebody offer me the opportunity to go to the show. I declined. I'm glad I did. Again, I didn't hate the show, but I don't know that it's a show I had to be there. I need to be here. I need to work. I need to work for you. Brumakian Productions kicks things off for us here. I know you didn't mention it's Saturday, but what did you think of the WrestleMania XL logo? I think it looks cool. I like the fact that they're using the Roman numerals again. I don't know if they're going to do that for 39, but I think the logo that I saw anyway, I thought that the logo looks very cool. Colin Hawkins, Jeffrey Dahmer, bro. I made that kid famous, bro. I booked him on Netflix, bro. I always listen to the podcast. Got to send some late birthday wishes. Hey, Colin, thank you very much. I got a lot of laughs out of that sad tweet segment this week. I'll get that up on the YouTube channel tomorrow. Queen Fire Panda. Good to see Roman showing up for work tonight. Yeah, it's about time. It's about time. El Ruinero with the $5 super chat. This man put in 3 hours sleep before yesterday's podcast, and he is back tonight. We appreciate you. Take care of yourself, Solomonster. Yeah, I'm still paying the price for that. I feel it like right here. I still feel it. But you know, the work never ends. Fire Panda says, it's cool to see the Good Brothers back, but at the same time, they are the Good Brothers, and they are lame. See, that's kind of what I'm struggling with. I cannot sit here and tell you that I am excited that I am seeing the Good Brothers back on my TV. But I'm glad that AJ has his friends back, and now he doesn't have to get his ass kicked on TV every week. Bing user 2022. Oh, would you look at this? Finally made the switch to Bing instead of Internet Explorer. Seems I've missed a lot, but back in time for WrestleMania weekend. All right, well, look. Still not there yet. You almost had it. But Internet Explorer user has switched browsers, so this is progress. He has at least switched browsers. I don't know why you would use Bing, but he's catching up. He's almost there. He's not there yet. He's still stuck on WrestleMania weekend. Shin Akuma, showing my love and support as always. Thank you, Shin. Kevin Dunn's Beaver. So if WrestleMania goes your way, should Gunther kick out of the Brogue Kick before Sheamus wins the IC title? Yeah, I think so. I think that if anybody's going to kick out of the Brogue Kick, it should be him. That is one of the most protected moves in the entire company. The other one is the End of Days. I don't know what happened to Baron Corbin. I don't care. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that the finish that he uses, that and the Brogue Kick, I think are the two most protected finishes in the entire company. Have been for many, many years. EJ Slemp, who do you hate more? Musgrove or Chase Utley? They both suck. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, D Corporation X closing Raw 25 years later was meh. Now it's Geriatric X. Gotta go by what Road Dogg said. Geriatric X. Road Dogg will have a good night out of the town, though. He seemed very, very much concerned about whether or not they could say penis on the show tonight. So now Road Dogg is going to hit the streets of New York. Perhaps he'll be looking for penis. I don't know. I'm sure in New York it will not be hard to find. Justin Jack says, I have a ham radio. Flamethrower. A little disappointed that we did not see Bray, but overall it was a pretty good show. Brumakian Productions Halloween 1978 watch along. Yay or nay? That's possible. See, something long like that, though, just kind of sitting there. I can't, I don't like the idea for that long of not being able to have some kind of visual for people, so probably not. But I will be watching along to that movie at some point between now and the end of the month. I always make sure I watch that at least once before Halloween. I have a few more weeks. I'll have to make sure I find time to watch that. Black Wolf. Black Wolf. Why does that sound familiar to me? Oh, Black Wolf the Dragon Master. From Conan O'Brien, from the Triumph the Insult Comic Dog skit. The guy that was dressed up as a wizard when he went to the Star Wars movie premiere. That's right. He had the guy in the wizard costume who had the fillet of fish from McDonald's in his hand. He was walking around like he was a Dragon Master. And Triumph went over to him and said, he goes, honestly, have you ever spoken to a woman without giving her your credit card number? Black Wolf the Dragon Master. Great time to be a wrestling fan overall. There is so much going on right now to not be happy or excited. I can't predict War Games now, and I am happy. Well, I am happy that you are happy. King Bling Blah, Brock versus Bobby. MMA rules? Let them MMA shoot fight. Let's do it. Put him in the fight pit. See, now, if they didn't do a fight pit match on Saturday, they could have done the fight pit at Crown Jewel. Dev to Dust. Raw, November 26, 2018 was terrible. I believe that I had that as the worst Raw. Didn't I have that as like the worst Raw ever, the worst Raw of the year? That might have been the episode I ranted on. I think that video has like over 100,000 views. I think that was the episode I just went off on. King Bling Blah 2022, the year that WWE's budget recovered. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? All of the budget cuts, right? It's just budget cuts. Sounds like Principal McVicker from Beavis and Butt. Budget cuts. But amazing, like all the budget cuts, and the budget has recovered. I'm so glad the budget has recovered. They could bring all of these people back. It's almost as if they didn't have to get rid of him in the first place. Justin Logue. Bobby versus Brock. My cat approves. Alto Johnson. Rest in peace to Ezekiel. Yeah, apparently Ezekiel took a turn for the worse, I guess, in the hospital, so we're getting Elias back. Xenoslayer. Will it be weird if Brock Lesnar would go after either the Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship? Yes, that would be weird and completely unnecessary. I do not want to see that. We got King Bling Blah. China Hall of Fame 2023. Well, you know, they put her into the Hall of Fame as part of DX already. So do I see her getting a solo induction? At some point. At some point, probably. Liquid Sharingan says, what? The Yatagaratsu, I don't know who originated Yeet, but the people need the Solomonster to play Fall Guys. Yeet. Manando boys, we all need a friend like AJ Styles. Even now, he is still helping the Good Brothers. We need a Resident Evil Silent Hill stream for Halloween. I don't know. Can you turn the music off in the game? Because the music is gonna get copyright struck for sure. Deep delicious chicken with flavor. The Judgment Day is more watchable than the Jericho Appreciation Society. Black Wolf, the Judgment Day in War Games with Edge and the OC. No, you got to have the Bloodline in the War Games match. War Games match is the main event of the show. The Bloodline should be in the main event of that show. The storyline potential alone, it's gold. You have to have the Bloodline in the War Games match. I mean, look, I'm not saying that there isn't a storyline reason. This storyline has been going on for months. So I understand where you're coming from in that, wouldn't you want to use the War Games stipulation to blow it off? Yes. Theoretically, you would. But I just don't see the War Games match having anything other than the top storyline around it and the top heel faction in the company. When you have enough members to fill up an entire team, I just think it would be crazy to have a War Games match this year and not have the Bloodline involved. I think that would be crazy. King Bling Blah, Ray and Dom got Taker and Kane WrestleMania 14 storyline vibes. Rodimus Prime. Overall, a good show. Seth is the new U.S. champion, and the Shield is ruling wrestling. That's right. Seth Rollins is the U.S. champion. Jon Moxley is the AEW champion. Roman Reigns he's got all the titles. Samoan fan 101. After your rejection of Backlund versus Bulldog last week, I looked it up. Backlund defended the title against Bulldog in '94 before losing it to Diesel. Joseph Brooks, do you think if Lashley loses to Brock, this could actually kill his moment that he built while being U.S. champion? Do you think he definitely has to win? I think Brock Lesnar is winning that match. There's not a doubt in my mind. This is Brock Lesnar's match so he can get his win back. Brock Lesnar is not going to Saudi Arabia to lose a second time to Bobby Lashley. I don't see that happening. Hey, Mr. Ali, Oli, thank you for the sub. Bernard Frederick, $10 super chat. I'm with you. I am not caring about the Good Brothers either. However, it does bring back memories of the AJ Styles feud with John Cena. Let's beat up John Cena. Love that feud. Yeah, that was before they destroyed the Good Brothers. I just can't bring myself to care about them right now. Deep Delicious Chicken. Saxton would risk it all for Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Fire Panda, on Saturday, my mom heard you read my super chat and she said, is that the Salamander guy that you watch? No, Salamander was not a typo. She said this. Terrible. Terrible. Tell her I said yeet. Justin Hess, 1992 super chat, celebrating 18 months as a Sound Off legend to the day. Thanks for all that you do. Much love to you and all of the Sound Off family. Well, Justin, thank you for being a channel member. He's a legend too. He's a legend for a year and a half. That's commitment right there. Salamander swims off. Drew McIntyre, Sean's lazy eye against Triple H's nose. Who wins? Well, I think the nose has to win. You could take both eyes and you can shove them right up that nose. Domination Warrior, Bray is back. That means it's rabbit season. No, it's wabbit season. Wabbit season. Gotta get it right. Jonathan with the $7 super chat. So it's safe to say that Brock and Lashley at Crown Jewel and maybe OC and Judgment Day Survivor Series, possibly War Games. Man, that's all I keep seeing. maybe I'm the crazy one. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they're gonna do AJ and Edge and the OC against the Judgment Day and War Games. I think that's a fucking waste to not do something with the Bloodline. I think that's nuts. But everybody is saying, oh, War Games and the Judgment Day, War Games. It's not what I would do. Luis Belmont Show. The Brock Lesnar Bobby Lashley match in Saudi Arabia should have been for the U.S. Championship, and then they had to screw it all up. Luis, that match should not be for the U.S. Championship. Because Brock Lesnar is not losing again to Bobby Lashley. And you do not want to see Brock Lesnar as the U.S. champion. Even if you say you do, you don't. So you are incorrect. They had to get the title off of him. And that is why they did what they did tonight. Francisco Martinez. Today, October 10th, is my birthday. Can I get a happy birthday from the Solomonster? Well, now it's October 11th, so I can't do it. Sorry. No, I'm kidding. Happy birthday, friend. It is October 11th, actually. But happy birthday to Francisco. I hope it was a good one, even though it's over now. It says, love everything you do, and I'm so glad to be a listener. I appreciate that. I hope you had a great birthday. I hope you got everything you wanted. Rizzo with the $10 super chat. Shout out to Nick Khan for fixing WWE's budget issues in just a year and a half. That's why they hired him. I was never a fan of the OC, but it makes sense to give AJ some help. Rizzo, also enjoy the nice, relatively quiet October because I see November is going to be very busy for you and us wrestling fans. Even UFC has a big pay-per-view as well. Yeah, November is going to be a monster. But it should be a huge month for the channel, so I'm hoping it all kind of works out in the end. But yeah, we got Crown Jewel, we've got Full Gear, we have Survivor Series with War Games. We have the 15-year anniversary of the podcast. I have not figured out what I'll be doing, if it'll be a separate stream or I don't know. But we always celebrate the anniversary here. 15's a big one, so we'll do something. We've got 2 watch-alongs next month, one for Montreal, one for the first Elimination Chamber, which was 20 years ago this year. So, and of course, all the weekly streams. Raw, Dynamite, SmackDowns, a lot of shit coming up in November. A lot of stuff. Tripod says, was Kathy on the show tonight? I missed most of it. Kathy? Kathy who? Oh, there's Perk Angle. Kathy who? Kathy Bates? Kathy Lee? No, thankfully she was not on the show tonight. Oh, Kathy Kelly. That's probably what it means. Kathy was not on the show tonight. You gotta be specific when you tell me these names. Kathy Kelly was not on the show tonight. But she is one of the new backstage announcers for Raw, so she'll be here soon. Hyru, I hope Triple H brings back Emma, Tegan Nox, and Mia Yim. SmackDown Women's Division desperately needs them. Sean D. What do you mean Elias had to grow the beard back? I think you're thinking of his brother Elrod or whatever his name was. They do look alike, though. They do look alike. Oh, Harold. Name of the day. Steven Richards. Any thoughts? Steven Richards. Not really. You know, good wrestler. But I don't really, honestly, I probably enjoyed him the most when he was Raven's lackey in the flock in WCW. I thought there was more potential to do stuff with the two of them. But beyond that, I don't really have any other thoughts. Boots, something about Corey's voice makes my ears bleed. Tripod. This past Friday was the 23rd anniversary of Mankind getting attacked backstage on SmackDown and telling Rock to win one for the Micker. Funny moment. They had a lot of funny moments together. Rizzo. Eric in the chat brought up an interesting point. Could budget cuts have been used as hush money? Interesting how their budget has recovered. I guess that's something they'll have to investigate. Paul Heyman. Are the Idiot Brothers gone yet? Is it safe for me to come out of the bathroom stall? Paul, it is safe. They've left. They've gone to the hotel. You can come out now, but you're going to be in some deep shit next week, so you got to figure out your game plan. You might want to skip Raw next week. Poor Paul Heyman. He's been stuck in the bathroom stall all night long. Worried that Anderson and Gallows are going to be looking for him. Oh, man, he's been stuck in the bathroom at the Barclays Center, no less. Man, that's got to smell like shit. GCC 305, at work listening to this review. Thank you, GCC. Shawnee in the Wrestling with the $1.99. Thank you, Shawnee. Thomas, I'm with you. The Bloodline has to be in War Games. Absolutely. Absolutely. They have to be. Stone Norton, what if for War Games, it is the Bloodline against the Brawling Brutes, Braun, and Drew? Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be any number of baby faces you could put in that match. You know, you could work Riddle in there, right? Riddle was up against Sammy tonight on the show. But KO has to be in there, I think. I think you want Kevin Owens in. So if you put the Brawling Brutes in, that's 3 of the 5 spots. I don't, you know, maybe the Brawling Brutes, Drew and KO instead of Braun. Fire Panda, hey Salamander, you forgot to mention the QR codes tonight. I'm done with QR codes. I'm finished with the QR codes. QR codes built to Saturday. Saturday came and went. Bray's back. That's it. I can't keep up with all these QR codes. Rizzo, I would also assume that NXT has a special 2. Well, they have Halloween Havoc. I don't know that they're going to have one in November. I don't think so. Got Halloween Havoc at the end of the month. And in the past, they've had specials in December. They had, well, the last War Games I think they did was I think that was a December show 2 years ago. So no, there may not be an NXT special next month. But honestly, I mean, at this point, who gives a shit about NXT? I mean, seriously. I care about NXT as much as I do the Good Brothers at this point. It's sad, but that's just the way it is. Rizzo says also, my God, Perk Angle scares me. I saw that pic in my dreams last night and woke up screaming. Well, that's why I put it in there. And Joseph Brooks, I've heard you say that Mr. McMahon is the greatest heel in WWE. So then who do you think is the greatest babyface in WWE history? Are there too many great faces to find just one? Yeah, I think there are too many of them. I mean, you could argue, and part of it also depends on age, to be honest with you. I mean, depending on what era you grew up in, some people might say that Bruno Sammartino was the greatest. 8 years as the champion. Right? I mean, he was certainly a favorite of a lot of people. Hogan, I always said that Hogan was a heel, masquerading as a babyface. So even though he was their biggest babyface, he was always a heel. But man, I mean, you've got Stone Cold, who, yeah, he was never a white meat babyface, but man, for that short period of time that he was over, there was never anybody as over as him. It's hard to vote against Steve Austin. It's hard to vote against Austin McMahon. I think that's your 1-2 combo right there. And all the money they made. The other thing is, it was such a short period of time. Hogan had more longevity than that. A lot of these other guys, they had more longevity than Austin did at the top at his peak. But man, that peak was just untouchable. So it's hard to vote against that. Sean O'Hare just finished a 12-hour shift, and what the fuck did I miss? You missed a lot. It was an eventful show tonight. Go back and listen from the beginning, brother. I cover it all. You missed a lot. Milton Herrera Ramoldi. Bloodline of War Games, no question. Charlotte or Bianca to dethrone Bianca? Charlotte or Bianca to dethrone Bianca? I would love to see Bianca dethrone herself. I would love to see how that works. But it's gonna be Charlotte. Sean D, does The Thing count as horror? Of course it does. Absolutely. Did you see The Thing? Scared the fuck out of me. I'd call that a horror movie. That's another one. I'll have to rewatch that in the next few weeks. It's one of my favorite movies. John Carpenter, my favorite director. Still don't think the man gets his flowers enough. All right, so let's see where we are on the like. I haven't even checked. My God, I haven't even checked to see where we are on the likes front. Oh, look at that. We passed our goal. The goal was 500, and we're bordering on 600. So let's see if we can hit 600 here. But let's go ahead and be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
You guys knocked it out of the park tonight. We hit our goal, and that can only mean one thing. It's time to take this thing for a spin. Want to get the week started on a high note. We begin with the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal Sabu. Here with that chair wrapped in barbed wire. Let's see who he's going to be hitting upside the head with that chair. Sabu going to be getting into the ring to go one-on-one with Hunter Hearst Helmsley. An interesting match. The Blue Blood version of Triple H taking on Sabu. I like that match. That's an interesting match. Maybe not a main event, but that's an interesting match. Joseph Brooks, thank you for the $4.99. Don't forget about Rock when it comes to great faces. Yeah, he's on the list too. But nothing can top that Austin versus McMahon era in that feud. We begin on the ladies' side with Brandy Rhodes. Didn't we just pick her last week? This woman's everywhere. Brandy Rhodes, who was spotted not too long ago training at the WWE Performance Center. Make of that what you will. Brandy Rhodes one-on-one with Chyna. Someone asked me about Chyna before. Sean Waltman was on TV tonight shouting out Chyna. What do you guys think? Chyna and Brandy Rhodes. Because that's what I think. So this will be the tiebreaker. We had one bell, we had one buzzer. It all comes down to this. Tag team be the booker. We begin with, well, look what we have here. Sasha Banks and Bayley. Sasha Banks and Naomi. What the fuck am I saying? Boy, when I say that I have, I was running on 3 hours of sleep. You could tell I was running on 3 hours of sleep. That is Sasha Banks and Naomi, who looks nothing like Bayley. Sasha Banks and Naomi still MIA. We have no idea when or if they'll pop up, but let's see who they're going to be in the ring with. It is mostly a male-dominated field here. They're going to be stepping into the ring to take on the American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards. There you go. There you go. I actually think that would be a great match. Get Sasha Banks in there with Eddie Edwards. Get some great wrestling in that match. That would be an intergender match that I think would end up being very good. I give that the bell. As intergender matches go, I think that would be one of the better ones. All these people coming back. All the people Triple H has brought back. Still no Sasha and Naomi. I don't know. I said this the other night. I think Sasha, she's bigger than wrestling at this point, as far as all the stuff that she's doing. She's made a career for herself. She doesn't need this. Look at this women's division. Does she need this? I don't think she needs this. I'd like to see her back. I want to see her back, but I don't think she needs this. Miguel said, I watched the Nigel McGuinness pre-WWE documentary. Man, he was upset about not making it to WWE. Yeah, I talked about it on the podcast this weekend. That was the last of McGuinness. He crowdfunded. He made this documentary. It was very depressing. It really was. It was very depressing to watch, and he was very down about the whole situation. But it was also, I remember him, it was very, he was very focused on the money that he was losing out on. And I remember thinking at the time, is he really upset about just kind of not being in WWE, or is he just upset that he's not going to make WWE money? Because it sounded to me when I was done watching that, like that may have had more to do with it than anything else. But, you know, you come away from it feeling sorry for the guy because he had it. You know, him and Bryan Danielson, they came in together and then it got yanked away from him because he didn't have enough money to have his shoulder fixed, or his bicep, rather. And it just got all just ripped right out of his hands, and it's got to be like having your heart ripped out of your chest. And he never really had the proper closure to his career. So yeah, I mean, it's a well-made documentary, but it's just very depressing to watch. I don't know, by the way, if it's on YouTube or where you would even watch it now. But it's been over 10 years probably, or about 10 years since I watched it. It's been a very long time. There's a segment on the show from this weekend, episode 777, where I talk about the Nigel McGuinness news, him being released, and the clip is actually up on the YouTube channel right now. But yeah, somebody let Wes Nile in the chat know if you happen to know where he can watch the documentary. I just don't know. I don't know where it's accessible from right now. So anyway, thank you for all the love tonight. I appreciate it. A very eventful episode of Monday Night Raw. I'm going to be back live with you on Wednesday after AEW Dynamite, and then again after SmackDown on Friday. So we will cover all of the shows this week. Please check out all of the other clips that I put up today, and I will be putting up tomorrow on the channel. Do go back and listen to episode 777 of the podcast. I thought it was a really good episode. We covered some Heavy ground. A lot of stuff we covered on the audio show this weekend. So support on YouTube and on Spreaker and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the usual audio platforms. Any way you can support the podcast, it means a lot to me. I thank you for that. Be well, stay safe, have yourselves a great rest of your night, and I will see you right back here Wednesday night for the AEW Dynamite post show. Until then, take care, guys.